Yes, another epic tale from our past, with those history buffs, Sabaton. So it's great to experience music that I've missed over the years, and Sabaton is one of those bands. And if I hadn't started this channel, I just wouldn't have heard them. Granted, I've only listened to 2 songs so far, but they've been good, man. And I've also had the pleasure of having dialogue with Sabaton fans as well. So yeah. So today, I'm going to be listening to a track called The Red Baron. Yes. Even the subject matter, man. Yeah. I mean, I do like history, but when there's adventurous swagger involved as well, then even more so. Yeah, Manfred von Richthofen. Let's do this. Alrighty. Hammond organ? It sounds very classic, doesn't it? This is really catchy, man. God, I love the tempo. This must be the chorus, sir. Hiya! The red. There's great energy. Deep purple, right?
Born a soldier from the horseback to the skies, and the legend never dies. And he's flying, and he's flying, and he's flying higher. The king of the sky.
I love that chorus, man. Whoa! Blimey! That was good! I tell you what, that really took me by surprise. That was such a fun track, man. It was, I don't know, just the tempo and the energy, and there was that great hook that just kept coming into it. How do you say? Vim and vigor. It had that real energy level, right? You know what I mean? Really cool. the tempo was brilliant, but at the beginning, with that organ, it was a bit misleading, because I was like, okay, this is all very classical. But quite literally, once the song really kicks in, the song literally flies out of the traps, right? No pun intended. And it just keeps fizzing right the way to the end. And fun as well, you know. I mean, very different from the two previous Sabaton tracks that I've listened to. And I think because of the tempo in it. And, you know, this is a song about an aerial ace and adventure. And literally, they nail it with that. I mean, theatre of the mind, and the chorus, higher. You can imagine, what was it? It was a Fokker biplane, wasn't it? That von Richthofen was flying. You can imagine him, doing all the acrobatics and turns and dives and whatever. And I tell you what, it must be a Hammond organ, right? But the tempo, just the way it runs along with the Hammond organ, that song could belong on Fireball by Deep Purple. It's that great pace or blend between the guitar and the organ. It's reflecting the audacity and daredevil nature of Manfred von Richthofen, who, of course, was a rock and roll star in World War One, right? I mean, he was the poster boy of the German military. I mean, the music is fast and daring. And like I said, you can imagine the Red Baron, Yeah, so let's check the lyrics, shall we? Man and machine, and nothing there in between. A flying circus, and a man from Prussia. The sky and a plane. The man commands his domain. The Western Front, and all the way to Russia. Yeah. Man and machine, and nothing in between. That's kind of suggesting that von Richthofen was almost as one with his machine, right? I mean, such was his competence as an aerial ace. And why? Well, he was one of the leading German fighter pilots in World War One. And between September 1916 and February 1917, he shot down no fewer than 21 British aircraft. So he really was an ace. And a flying circus and a man from Prussia. Yeah. What does a flying circus mean? Not Monty Python. So he was the commander of... Now I have to get this up. Jagdgeschwader 1. That was the squadron. And the reason why they called them, or this is referring to a flying circus. Now, the planes in this particular squadron were all fancifully decorated. And we know the Red Baron, he liked his red plane, right? And also, when they were transporting this squadron of planes to their bases from where they would operate, they would all be on a train being transported around. So that's why they called it the flying circus, because circuses also used to travel around on trains going from place to place. And that's where the term comes from. And he was a man from Prussia. He was indeed. Let me just check. Yeah, well, it was called the city of Kleinburg at the time. And, well, the German Empire back then covered Prussia. Prussia, and this part of Prussia, is now modern-day Poland. And it's no longer called Kleinburg, the town. It's now called Borek in Poland. So, yeah, he was from Prussia. The Western Front and all the way to Russia. Yes. Now, what's interesting is that the Red Baron started off as a cavalryman. Now, with the onset of World War One, a new fighting technique, or let's say movements were instilled, and that was trench warfare. And basically, this meant that the cavalry was just not needed anymore. It was obsolete. So a lot of the cavalrymen would then transfer to other parts of the military. And von Richthofen went over to the army, first of all, and then he transferred in 1915 to the Imperial Air Service, which of course was very new because, it was the beginning of aviation, right? And aviation and war in particular. The Western Front and all the way to Russia. Now, during the moment when the Battle of the Somme was going on, von Richthofen was to the east, fighting the Russians, the offensive against Russia. And he was piloting planes that were essentially involved in bombing raids. But he didn't like that. He was a thrill seeker. He was after the adventurous spirit of one-on-one combat as a fighter pilot. That's what he was after. And he would bide his time, but he would eventually get there in the summer of 1916. So the lyrics carry on. Death from above, you're under fire. Stained red as blood, he's roaming higher. Born a soldier from the horseback to the skies, which is the reference of him. He used to be a cavalryman, okay? That's where the legend will arise. And he's flying. He's now flying. And I love the chorus. The chorus is so catchy, man. Higher, the king of the sky. That's how it goes, right? He's flying too fast and he's flying too high. So I guess that's kind of suggesting that he was, let's say, pushing the limits as far as they could go, which is why he was such an ace. Higher, an eye for an eye. That's kind of the one-on-one combat scenario. The legend will never die. Well, we still talk about the Red Baron till this day, right? And obviously Sabaton wrote a song about him. But yeah, he was a legend. As I said, he was a poster boy. First to the scene, he is a lethal machine. It's bloody April. Aha, and the tide is turning. Fire at will, it is the thrill of the kill. Yeah, it's the thrill of the one-on-one battle, right? 4 in a day shot down with engines burning. Okay, first to the scene, he's a lethal machine. I think it's kind of, you understand that, right? Bloody April. What do they mean by Bloody April? So Bloody April. So it's 1917. Okay. Now in the March, von Richthofen shot down 10 aircraft. Okay, of the Allies. But during April, it was going to be a lot worse for the British. In this month, which was referred to as Bloody April, and I guess you can start to assume and guess why it was called that, the number of losses suffered by the Royal Flying Corps, which was the British squadron, were the highest of the war. The British lost 245 aircraft, with 211 aircrew either killed or missing. Now get this, they say about pilots and their average life expectancy. Now, for a new pilot on the front, the life expectancy dropped to 11 days. Imagine that. This is on the British side, right? And the Red Baron would take a full role in having an influence on this, right? He shot down 21 British aircraft in April 1917. That's 9% of the total aircraft gone in bloody April. 9%. One pilot, the Red Baron. Embrace the fame, Red Squadron leader. Yes, embrace the fame. He was becoming famous. He was the equivalent of a rock and roll star, as I've already said. Red Squadron leader. He had the famous red plane. Call out his name, Roter Kampfflieger, which is German, of course. In the game to win, a gambler rolls the dice. 80 allies paid the price. So the Red Baron was personally credited to shooting down 80 aircraft. That was his tally. And he's flying higher, the king of the sky. He's flying too fast and he's flying too high. Higher, an eye for an eye. The legend will never die. And... well, actually, till the end of the song, that's pretty much the hook and the chorus, which is great, because it just keeps it going, right? And of course, what the song doesn't say is what ultimately happened to the Red Baron, which obviously we will talk about now. Now, it was on the 21st of April 1918 that the Red Baron was shot down in his red Fokker biplane. There were conflicting accounts on who was responsible for this. At first, the Royal Air Force claimed it was one of their pilots. And it was a chap by the name of Captain Arthur Roy Brown. But since then, actually historians have now come to a more accurate conclusion that they think that the Red Baron was caught in a barrage of artillery fire that was fired by an Australian unit on the battlefield below. And what happened next, I think, only goes to reinforce the concept that a lot of the time there's so much futility in war. Because despite the fact that these guys were essentially trying to kill each other, they also had a huge amount of respect for one another from both sides. So when they recovered von Richthofen's body from the crash site, removed it from the plane, the Red Baron was given a full military funeral by the very people who'd been trying to kill him and eventually had killed him. How about that, eh? But because they had so much respect for the guy as well. So his body was buried in a cemetery near the village of, Amiens, a day later on the 22nd of April. And 6 of number 3 squadron's officers, so that's the British squadron that were basically every day going up, with dogfights and so on, trying to kill their enemy. 6 of that squadron, the officers, served as pallbearers for von Richthofen's coffin. And a guard of honour from the squadron's other ranks fired a salute. And they also laid a wreath with the inscription, "To our gallant and worthy foe." Yeah. Yeah. Von Richthofen, the Red Baron. Yeah, I mean, he was the equivalent of a rock and roll star at the time. And for sure, like the lyrics say, he is a legend. And, when you hear about the fact that he died in war, which is always, I suppose, tragic, but the fact that he was so well respected by the very people who killed him. It's bizarre, isn't it? But what a track, man. I really loved the Deep Purple feel to the track, as somebody who loves Deep Purple. But it's the whole thing. It's the playful tempo and the organ with the guitar and the energy and it's just vibrant, man. It's punchy. It's fun. It's an all-round cool track, man. Absolutely. Oh yeah.